quite an interesting film. As you can see, this near side horse is well, they're both Lipizzaner crosses from Hungary. They were purchased to come over here to do commercial work for a company that do funerals, weddings. But as you can see, he's struggling and fighting the poor little fella with his mouth. So these people had already bought two from a chap there in Hungary, and then they bought these two, one of which was no good, so they sent it back, which cost them to send it back. Then the other one come over and no better than the other one was. So it's the old thing of buyer beware. The shame of it is, this horse actually is, underneath it was a lovely horse. Anyway, just on arrival in our yard, we had a look in his mouth. Sure enough, he's got a wolf tooth there, quite large and loose. So I phoned the people up and explained to them what was wrong, or possibly what was wrong. When we got our vet out to have a look, he's also got, just inside his cheek, just next to the first molar, two large, or quite large, about the size of a marble, a child's marble, melanomas.
Normally melanomas, you'll see them in the sheath.
Yeah, sheath under the tail.
And the tail is the first place. Yeah. Then here you can get them also as well.
Look at this one here. Look.
And here they're a little bit more annoying because you can see there's two of them, one there and one here. You can feel them really well, and they can grow, and some of them they can bleed. And
so obviously he had a sharp tooth, so we rasped the teeth, removed the wolf tooth, hoping that that would put the horse right. And as we go on in the film, you'll see that the horse is coming better. But the other thing he'd done was pull hard against the bit, to the point of he would lift you out the seat, and it's taken a great deal of work to get him to be, as you see him now, going along nice and steady. Now I always drive in rubber bits, as most people would know, so we've got them in rubber. We've taken away all the iron, all the lumps and bumps and curb chains and all that nonsense. We've taken it away and we've got him to walk, but just to get him to walk was a hard job. He'd be pulling on your hands the whole time, you know, to the point that he would make your arms ache. So just a warning, when you know, just because you've had a horse from abroad and it's been fine, it's always worth going out there, seeing them and driving them, and drive them yourself, and drive them in the traffic, whatever they claim the horses will do. Go out there and do it. Now, had this lad gone out there and seen this horse, I've no doubt he wouldn't have bought it back. So he's now in a quandary. We've got the horse right, but he still has the melanomas. He no longer pulls because we've re-broke him to a rubber bit. I know people say it can't be done once they're hard mouth. Well, this is the proof of it. The horse is going, you know, very well. The horrible thing about it is he's a lovely natured horse. You know, he's just a genuine and good worker, nice nature, easy to do, easy to handle. As you can see in this particular shot, I've got my bumping stick, which is what we use 90% of the time for training. So what that is a soft sponge ball on the end of an old lunge stick, on the end of an old lunge whip, and we just touch him with that just to reassure him. It's not to push him on, because he certainly don't require that. Well, neither of them require to be pushed on in any way, but it's to get them to come back and settle back to the rubber bit and realise that we're not going to hurt them by pulling hard on their mouths, and they can do their job. Even now, you can still see him higher than the other horse by 6 inches now and again, just when he thinks to himself that it's going to hurt him. You know, he's expecting it to hurt, so it takes a long time. Now we done this over a period of a month. We got him going, and we got him going nice, and it's such a shame. So they already paid, in my opinion, a premium price for the horses, and they are not what they claim to be. So what we've done is filmed the horse's mouth while the vet was here, got the vet to do a report, and his report says that, in his opinion, in a short time the horse will not take a bit. So he's taking the rubber bit, the bits we use, because it's softer, and as you pull on the reins the bit automatically curves because it's very soft rubber. So it's curving around and not pushing the melanomas from the outside onto the molars as much as perhaps if he was using all different shaped bits. Obviously if you've got a curved bit in his mouth it would be a hard pull. This is soft, and it's quite a large bits that we use, so it's holding it back but without putting any pressure on the actual melanomas. Also they were bleeding where the teeth were sharp, so it's always, you know, sensible to or even have a vet out there just to have a look for what it costs. If you're paying all this money for horses, then paying the shipping to bring them back, you can end up, and it's not the first time that we've had horses like this. I mean, this has been, you know, several times this has happened with all sorts of horses from abroad. So just a word of warning, and it's all right saying, well, I'd never do a thing like that. There's plenty of people that have done it. You know, they end up here or perhaps somewhere else trying to be put right. I mean, as he's come now, as you can see him walking sweet with his head down, you know, happy. He's now pricking his ears forward quite a bit of the time, whereas before he had his ears back all the time. The other thing I'm not saying, not for one moment, because I have no idea, but it wouldn't surprise me if this horse had been used because perhaps his mouth isn't any good, or they could see he had melanomas, and they might have used him, you know, in Romania, and they do Hungary on them borders, they do pulling competitions, you know, give a horse a great load and see how much it can pull. You can look on YouTube and find these films for yourself to see. Well, if he's been used like that, or in America, for instance, they use horses to pull weights. Some places in Europe do as well. I think certain parts of Germany will do it. So they'll take a horse, put a tremendous amount of weight, and see what a pair of horses can pull. Well, his behaviour when he was first here was exactly the same way. As soon as you put him to the cart and asked him to move off, he'd smash into the collar, he'd be away, he'd be tugging on your hands. Well, in them pulling competitions, they only have to go a few metres, you know, 10, 15 metres, and that's all they've got to do. And then they stop. Once the weight's taken off, they're quiet. So here, I'm not saying that's what's happened, because I have no proof of that or idea, but he definitely behaved in the same fashion as horses do that's happened to. When you comes to a hill, like now, we're just coming out the village and going up a hill, and he just wants to pull. So he's obviously had a massive weight behind him, in my opinion. It's only my opinion, I cannot prove that. But he's had the weight because all he's been done is made to pull, get up, get on with it, that sort of nonsense. And, you know, that's what he's expecting. So you get the near side horse is pulling, taking all the weight from the offside horse, so the offside horse is not pulling because he can't see any reason why. He can't feel any weight on his collar because the other horse is taking a lot. So it takes quite a bit of skill to get this one back, Just get him to come back on your voice. That's the secret. Get him to come back, listen.
There's another car behind.
Whenever he sees a hill, the poor thing, if he ever sees a hill, he starts to, he'll canter on the spot, virtually on the spot. You can see him coming up here. We're coming towards a hill. You can see him getting wound up, yeah? So I'm just saying to him, steady now. He's a good baby boy. He'll actually half canter, if there is such a gait as half canter. He won't move any faster than a walking pace, but he's not trotting, he's half cantering, and the horse looks as though he's lame even, you know. You think, oh, what's the matter with him? Steady, you know. But he looks so funny when he does it, where he's just dying to get on, but we've kidded him enough. And we seem to have got him, you know, just right. The horse on the offside, he was a bit funny with traffic and kicky. Now, what we noticed when he arrived, he had 2 old nail holes below the shoes he was wearing on the front. So you could see that over a period of time, he'd been shod 3 times. But on his back feet, he had nothing whatsoever. Only the shoes that he was wearing when he come to us. So he had no holes or nail marks below that where the clinches would have been. Which tells me, as soon as he arrived and we had a look at him and we noticed this one's mouth and we looked over the other horse, that was his problem. So I thought, I just wonder how he is to shoe. You know, is he going to be all right or not? So what we've done, we just tried him, you know, picking his foot up, wouldn't have it. Would snatch it away from you and would also swing round whilst he snatched it away. So he'd knock you over at the same time as trying to pick his foot up. So when Melanie was mucking him out, he smashed a broom, kicked it straight out of her hand. So obviously that was his trait, he was a kicker. But we've managed to get that out of him. We've had Joe come over and shoe him. It took us a couple of hours, 2¼ hours to shoe him. Just keeping hold of his leg, staying with him, me leaning my weight on his hip while Joe picked his iron foot up. It took a long time. That doesn't mean the next time that he's going to be good, but the next time he should be easier to do. So you've got 2 horses here with problems. So now, you know, as much as I could say, with my hand on my heart, that I would drive them through the middle of London. So we got them used to the rubber, softened their mouths again, got them listening, you know, to what I'm asking him to do. You can see this horse on the inside. 90% of the time he's got his ears back to me, listening. Probably waiting for a smack or a clout, and he can't make out quite what he's supposed to do. He's a little bit bewildered, really, but we're just letting him walk. He wants to break to a trot all the time, but as you can see, the reins are slack. We're putting very, very little pressure on his mouth, and even then we've still got the rubber bits in, which are obviously soft. What I'm saying is here we've got to re-educate the horse slowly, lots and lots of miles of walking, little trot, little walk, and eventually we'll get him up to a canter, and then ask him to come back, and, you know, if we've done our job right, he'll come back to a nice, you know, a jig jog trot, a walk, and stand when he's told. The people said he, you know, they tried him and he just threw his head up in the air like a camel, went along with his, you know, his head right up in the air, so much so he could look out the top of the blinkers and see you behind. Not that that bothered him. Quite often out there they'll drive him with no blinkers. But you know, the sad thing about it is he's such a nice horse. Underneath all of that trouble he's had in his life and problems, and I can't say whether he's had harsh treatment, but I would have thought that was the case, you know. And as long as you're gentle with him and kid him along and let him realise that he's not going to be hurt, he's, you know, it's the bit is not going to hurt him, he's not going to get pulled on. But obviously it takes a lot of time and obviously skill to, you need a lot of patience, a lot of, like knowing what you're doing, if you like. Then, but we got him going, very, very sweet. And as we're coming up now towards the latter part of the film, you'll see in a minute where the chap who is going to drive him, a young lad that I was very impressed with, he come down, a young man, and he listened to what I had to say. He respected the fact that we got him right, and he had a nice attitude with the horse, a very nice attitude with the horse, just nice and a very patient young man. For a young lad, I was impressed with him. He was good. He listened to what I told him, and he was driving them as well as I could. So I was very, very pleased with that. They actually, a chap was selling two lovely horses, really nice ones, and he was selling them because his circumstances had changed, and he sent them up here just so I could make a film of them, and why the people that own these horses with you, they also bought them, so they've gone to a lovely home where they'll stay the rest of their life, and I think they'll do the very best they can with this horse. With this young lad, they got a lovely chance of making it work, and getting the horse, because obviously the horse is close to me. You look at his ears all the time, he's listening to me. And I talk sweet to him, and I kid him along, and just let him know no one's going to hurt him. And come on, my baby boy, there's a steady, good lad, like that, nice and gentle. And now he's moving off without smashing into the collar, without having his head right up in the air, pulling as hard as any horse has ever pulled my hands on the reins. And with our old rubber bits, and I know I'll keep on about them, but if there's 500 films on this YouTube channel where I'm driving stallions with mares, any combination you like, large, small, hard-mouthed horses. Melanie's got several films on there where she's dealt with hard-mouthed horses and re-educated them to a soft rubber bit. Well, I'm not pulling hard on the reins. But he's holding his head, and with a little bit more work, and when we come to the end of the film, his head's more or less level with his partner, bearing in mind the inside horse is a couple of inches bigger than the offside horse, so the near side horse is a couple of inches bigger, so obviously his head's going to be a little bit higher, but we get it right down till you could put a spirit level on it, and they go along. And as we go on through the film, you'll see his ears are forward far more. He'll have one back on me, and then he'll have two, then he's got one again, then he'll keep flicking them forward. On the very first part of the film, he's got them back on me all the time, waiting to hear the swish of a whip or a stick or something. I don't know. I've no way of proving that, and I'm not condemning anybody when I wasn't there to see how he was treated, but that's what it indicates to me. I can't see what other reason he would have. If you say to me, well, the melanomas in his mouth, well, the horse would be, 12-year-old, I think he is, certainly 10-year-old, as far as I remember. So he would have, obviously been to work, know his job, but done it at one time. And then perhaps he's had these melanomas come and they've pulled hard where he's got a sharp tooth, and that's made him sore. And just because if you pull hard on a horse's mouth, any horse, I don't care who it is, you pull hard on his mouth, he'll pull you. You pull, he'll pull. And it ends up in a tug of war. And it's like it says in one of my old books, written a couple of 100 years ago. There's a man there talks about, he's a bit manufacturer. And he said, I've never made a bit for a horse. He said, I've made thousands for men. And that's true if you think about it. Because the horse don't get to say how much more in his mouth. It's what we decide is the right thing. Well, if I can drive hundreds of horses, stallions and mares mixed together, all different sizes in a team of 5, all skipping along lovely and all wearing a piece of rubber. Just a soft, bendy bit of rubber. Not vulcanite, hard rubber, soft rubber. Really soft. And that's just, at the end of the day, why do you want your hands pulled off? Why do you want to be pulling and fighting them? If you can get their head carriage just sweet and right and they're resting on that bit, they're a lot happier. That's why I do them in rubber. You know, and people say to me, you're crazy, you can't control. Well, I'm controlling. I don't know how many films there are on YouTube. Well, no problem. I said, we're trying in a hackamore or something similar. So we used a modern type of bitless rig and put it on him. And the problem was then to get any response, he obviously still felt, you know, the pain or discomfort because he was pulling just as hard in that as he was in the metal bits when the man had him, and as he started to fight the rubber bit when we very first put it in. But also what happened is the configuration of a hackamore, as you pulled on the rein to do anything at all with him, is pushing directly where the melanomas are. So that was no point in that. So that didn't work. So we reverted back to the rubber, and but as the vet said, he couldn't give a time scale, but obviously when they've got a melanoma, it grows. And this is the problem. So, you know, just not for me to tell anybody what to do. I'm not doing that in any way. It's just, if you want to think about it, if you ever buy one from abroad, you want to be going out there, you want to take someone with you who knows what they're talking about, and 2 pair of eyes are better than 1. You want to have them vetted out there and checked. A simple vet, you know, if it costs you £100, £200, in this particular case, it'd been far, far better. You know, it's not for me. I'm not telling anybody what to do or saying that this man was silly to do what he done. We've all made mistakes. We've all got it wrong. The person that hasn't, I don't believe. Everybody has. And there's nothing like horses to level you. You know, you think you know it all, and then all of a sudden you realise you know very little. So, just as a word of warning, we hope this horse is going to go on and have a future for as long as his melanomas will allow him to. And now we've filed the teeth away as much as we can and made him as comfortable as possible. As you can see, I think we've achieved our goal, because you're standing there as quiet as a lamb. He walks away. As the film comes to the end, you'll see his head's down. When the young lad gets on the on the reins, he does very, very well, because he hardly puts any pressure at all. And a couple of days before they come to see him, I put them into metal bits because that's what they feel they want to use. So I put them back in as, say, butterfly bits, and they went very, very, very well in them. But the lad had lovely hands, and he listened to me and done exactly what I said and drove them, I have to say, very, very well indeed. So we hope that he's got a lovely future. He also might go on until he's 20 and be a good carriage horse, be good commercial horse. He's definitely 100% with traffic. Nothing phases him. A real nice horse. Well, a pair of them are. He's had all that hollering and shouting and bullying. I would think, that is just my opinion. He's had all that. He don't want that. He just wants a bit of kindness, a bit of firmness. Got to do as you're told. But if you do it like this, the world's a wonderful place. There's a good boy like that, and he's come right to his job.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.